Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday and Cinco de Mayo. If you celebrate it, I'm celebrating everything these days while in quarantine. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for joining us today for part 8 of our Certainty in an Uncertain World, What to Do Now weekly webinar. So many of you have been with us these past few weeks, week in and week out, and for that we thank you. Our goal was, right from the beginning, was to be a home base for the latest information and truly serve you, our dental community during these difficult times. For those that are joining us for the first time, welcome. We're happy to have you. We host this week, every week on Tuesday, same time and place, and welcome you to join us. My name is Alexa Gil Rodriguez. I'm a practice analyst and recovery blueprint coordinator for Next Level Practice. I'll be moderating and a resource to you for any questions you have during this webinar, as well as support needed after. Regardless of where you're at and starting from today, we're here to support. Okay, Gary could not be with us today, unfortunately. We miss you, Gary. I wanted to plug that in there. So I want to acknowledge that we will be shifting in our content. Okay, today's topic was around complete health, and it's such an important topic that we want to make sure we do it justice, and we will bring that to you next Tuesday. Today will be more of an open format. Okay, I know we've always had a lot of questions that are left unanswered, and we have our amazing panelists here. They're experts in their respective fields, and they're going to be taking turns to bring you their updates. And then we'll be fielding questions per panelist, so please keep them coming, okay? As usual, you'll see your Q&A button in the taskbar below. Press that and put in your questions there. So our panelists are Mr. Bob Affleck with CitiBank, our resident go-to banker, Tanya Dunlap, Managing Director with PerioProtect, Dr. Brian Laskin with OperaDDS and our go-to for teledentistry. We have Andrew Lopez, co-founder of Dr. Genius. And last, but certainly not least, our substitute teacher today for Gary and for the hour is Mr. Steve Parker, President and CEO of the Profitable Dentist magazine. So Steve will be leading us today. Steve, do you want to say a few words? We want to jump into Mr. Bob Affleck, who is our first.
Yeah, I did want to say just quickly, I know, with substitute teachers, sometimes they're really awesome and, which means they just show you a movie, and sometimes they make you really work hard. So I'll try to I'll try to find a healthy balance. And, I can't live up to Gary. He's one of a kind guy, but I think you'll find there's a lot of content today. We had a conversation ahead of time, so there's a lot to share. Week 8 it's amazing. And what occurred to me as Alexa was talking there, we started this with, what's the government going to do? Are they going to give out loans? Are they going to, we didn't know anything. And we've made an amazing progression. And week 8 here, we're starting to get back. Some people started this past Monday. Some people are going to start in, a week or two. So if you've listened along, I think it's important to realize that what we've tried to do is stay timely with where we are, this particular week. So we got a lot of great content that we talked about ahead of time. And I think this will be one of our better, more enthusiastic get back to business episodes. So so you want to start off with Bob?
Sure, that would be great. And welcome, Steve. It's great to have you as our host today. I love that. You'd be definitely a great host for anything that you do. So let me just get started today. And first of all, just share with you, obviously, what I've been sharing with most of you for the past so many weeks on this webinar. Obviously, we're all talking about the PPP loans, the different SBA loans that are available out there for you. I think everybody probably is now pretty much sick of hearing about all of that, but still trying to get, really get the loans and wondering where they're at, I think is the best way to put it. So this is actually what I'm hearing all the time right now is show me the money. I think a lot of doctors are fortunately getting approved for these loans now. And, we've gone through the second phase of PPP loans. Now that they've been told that they've been approved, they've got their SBA number, they've signed their loan documents, and they're saying, show me the money, where's the money? So I'm getting lots of calls on that right now. So these are just some of the main questions that I'm hearing right now. So that the good thing is that if you have been approved, if you have received your SBA, what is called an E-Tran number, then you can pretty much rest assured that you're going to be okay. So for those of you that have been told that you have been approved for this particular PPP loan, and they're just telling you they're waiting on either your loan documents or possibly waiting for, possibly just waiting for you to go into funding. Just remember that all of the banks out there are dealing with thousands and thousands of applications right now, and trying to get everyone through as fast as they can. Obviously, the next question I always get is, when do I have to start paying my employees? That is probably the biggest question out there right now. And everybody being very concerned, because it's like, okay, we're not open right this minute, so when do we actually start? So primarily, from what we understand, is that it's 10 days after you've actually been approved or funded, is when you actually need to start bringing your employees back in order to be able to receive that forgiveness portion of it. So they want you to pay your employees for 8 weeks, as you all know, and then 75% of that loan goes towards your employees, and the other goes toward mortgage, your rent, and also utilities as well. So 25% of that. Just, the one thing I would pretty much say to everyone, because I think this is the biggest area that that everybody gets so concerned about, is, this big forgiveness portion of it. And the one thing that you can rest assured, that if any of you, for whatever reason, aren't able to bring back employees or aren't able to meet those certain requirements of the forgiveness portion of it, I would just kind of look at this more as a very inexpensive loan at the same time. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but it's like you need to kind of take the pressure off of yourself, because I think so many people are getting so concerned about how are they going to get forgiven. So primarily what I really want to focus on today is, what are we going to do moving forward? And I have brought this up many, many times throughout the past couple of weeks, but I'm going to show a few more illustrations for you today. So the very first thing that I would say is, you really need to focus on building a strong foundation within your practice moving forward. And the most important thing right now is, because we don't know how fast you're going to be able to ramp all of your practice up to get it back to where it was before you left. It's really important that you start to free up your cash flow. So primarily, that's really what we're going to focus on today in this presentation, is freeing up your cash flow. Obviously, still a big supporter of the Recovery Blueprint program that Next Level is providing. I think this is a phenomenal program to join if you haven't already joined it. Without a doubt, implement new marketing platform. It's really going to be the message that you share with your patients, your team, and also the community around you. So this is something that you really need to start focusing on right now, is how are you going to get the message out there that you're going to provide a safe place for these patients to come, and also for your team as well. And then implement healthy solutions, obviously, like PerioProtect for sure. So that's one major healthy solution that you can find. So what we're going to talk about really quickly is more about the freeing up your cash flow. This is all about consolidating your current practice debt. And I know some of you out there are thinking, gosh, I'm almost finished paying off this loan, or I really don't like debt. But the reality of it is what you have to really think about is at this point is freeing up the cash flow so that you're able to continue to grow this practice. And then as you start to pay down, or as you start to grow, then you can start paying down on that debt. But here's some ideas of what you can do. And I wanted to give you this illustration of kind of what this all looks like for you, because I think this really speaks volumes without a doubt. So this is just an example that I made up. You have a practice loan, maybe current balance of $350,000 right now. Equipment loans maybe at $80,000, and then possibly credit card debt. I'm talking to a lot of doctors right now they have a lot of credit card debt that's just racked up, for the past couple of weeks. So what I'm showing you here is also the monthly payments that you're possibly making on these loans that you currently have. So with this illustration, an example is showing you that total amount of monthly payments going out is about $9,553. Obviously, if you were to refinance and consolidate your debt, your loan amount is going to be about $480,000. At this point, your marketing, what you want to do is really start looking at, the types of equipment that you possibly need to bring into your practice to be able to make it safe for your patients and team. And obviously, the most important thing right now, I think, is going to be investing into marketing and really diving into that. And I know we have a great panelist here that is going to share with you a phenomenal marketing program that they have. So I'm really looking forward to his presentation. And then also getting cash out of your practice that you can actually use for other expenses or unexpected expenses that might be popping up. So now you've got a loan amount of about $580,000. But if you really look at it, what should you really focus on? You really actually should be focused on what's your monthly payment right now. It's not about specifically, you kind of remember, it's not specifically right now about the debt, but it's about keeping your cash flow freed up. So your new monthly payment for that $580,000 would be about $5,872. Remember, the old monthly payments added up to be $9,553. So now you have a savings and open cash flow of $3,681. So just keep that in mind. And I also wanted to point something else out to you as well. Is with this chart, you've got a loan amount of, it should be 580, excuse me, and a monthly payment of 5,872. With this particular loan that I'm going to show you, it also provides you 6 months of no payments. So now that you have a monthly payment of 5,872, you have to realize that now you've got an extra $35,233 to work with. Plus, you've got your monthly savings from the consolidation of $3,681. So you kind of have to look at it that way. And obviously, when you start to grow your practice, when you start to see more profit within your practice, obviously start paying down on your loan and then get rid of it. Obviously, here are some new debt considerations or new debt to consider. I would say definitely coaching. I think this is really going to be key and very important to bring in a coach, somebody that's going to help you to really set up your recovery plan and also how you're going to interact with your patients and your team. Obviously, marketing is key, new equipment. And for some of you, you may not want to see this right now, but unexpected taxes that you may owe for 2019. So this is something that you may want to be able to pay off because you definitely don't want to have a bill with the IRS, right? So it's going to be much cheaper to pay off your debt by being able to take out some cash out of your practice to actually pay off your taxes, okay? So here's the program. This particular program is not I want to stress this is not a CitiBank program. This program is actually created by a company that teamed up with Delta Dental. And Delta Dental is using this as their quote unquote stimulus package, but it can be used for everyone out there, even if you're not a Delta Dental person. So primarily you can refinance, consolidate, and get cash out. It's a 10-year fixed rate. Maximum loan is up to 100% of your collections, which is pretty amazing. Again, it allows 6 months of zero payments or 6 months of interest-only payments. If you choose to go for the zero payments for 6 months, really what you just have to expect is that that the 6 months of no payments will be tacked on to the back of the loan. And if you go for 6 months interest only, you just have to expect that You'll go 6 months of interest-only payments, but your monthly payments just going to be a little bit higher than normal. So this program is good as of today, May 5th, and program is subject to change without notice. I think that this particular group has designated over $200 million for this program. So I guess it could be a frenzy again out there for new loans. Primarily this is my upon your return complete recovery blueprint. I can't even say the word today. Strengthen your financial situation and have healthy systems already in place. So here's my contact information if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Bob. Bob, do you, let me ask a couple questions, or do you want to do the softball, Steve? You want
Yeah, let's, and maybe I was watching here, Alexa, because, you know, every time Bob comes on, that little clicker starts going like crazy. And maybe they all sort of bundle into the same thing. Forgiveness. And I know Gary said this last week, and I noticed there was a lot of chatter and confusion. And maybe that's we can take a quick minute and sort of clarify that. Yes. I think what he's saying, what you're saying is don't get so hung up on getting this loan forgiven and miss the opportunity to grow your practice with some pretty cheap money, with pretty, you know, I mean, it's 6 months, no payments, and then I think it's 1%.
1%,
I mean,
right.
Yeah, this is, so if you were going to go out and borrow money to work on your practice, you're not finding any money this cheap. So I think what Gary's saying is if it works with you, then focus on the forgiveness. Right. But if it doesn't work for you, use this money. How about this? Don't use it to go on a cruise. Use it to work on your practice. And that's sort of the message. Does that because I noticed a lot of the questions here about so heavily focused on my 75%, should I, you know, all the ways that I should spend this money. And at the end of the day, if you have cash, even if it's a loan that you're going to pay off starting 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, still cash you need to get your business back going. Is that a good way to phrase that?
Yes. Yeah. So, again, I think it's pretty standard of what the forgiveness, I can't talk today. Mm-hmm. I need to go back to bed. Man, this is scary.
You've been a busy guy this past 6 weeks, Bob.
The forgiveness, I have been. It's been crazy. The forgiveness, obviously, is all about bringing your team back and paying up to 75%. And basically, it's really, you know, up in the air about when that actually starts, but everybody's thinking it is 10 days after you receive the funds. Mm-hmm. So just as long as you do that, then you should be able to just keep track of everything and, make sure you're keeping good records of all of the things that you're paying on, with this money is probably the best way to say it.
And maybe don't, if you're going to come back smaller or you're going to come back longer, don't freak out that it's, that it's a loan.
Right.
You don't have to write a check for it, 8 weeks from today or when you get it.
Exactly.
It may not be a bad thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. What other questions did they have?
It was more towards the last piece, I believe, of the Delta. Can you please repeat information on how to get this loan?
So I can definitely provide, and I can, I'll start answering the questions on here for everyone, provide you contact information of the person to contact. I have a specific person at the company that is actually providing this program. So I'll get that over to everyone.
Awesome.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Bob.
Sure, thank you.
So next we have Ms. Tanya Dunlap, Managing Director of Periprotect. Thank you for being here, Tanya.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. And Steve, to have you moderating is fantastic. So thanks for stepping in. I want just to give you guys a few facts that you can start telling your team and your patients. So there's a new study that came out in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and admittedly it's observational data, but they were looking at the patients who were admitted to 12 New York hospitals. They look at 5,700 patients. 94% of those patients had one comorbidity, 88% had two comorbidities. So having that chronic inflammatory condition, and the three that they pull out of the data are obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Having those comorbidities really elevates your risk for this particular virus and for the hospitalization and potentially even death of the virus. So it's super important that we are focused on wellness. Right now, people are open for emergency care, right? And there's some crazy number out there. Brian, I didn't verify it, did you? I didn't go back and verify it, but somebody quoted yesterday, every X number of seconds, somebody's going to an emergency room for a dental issue, right? This is a big deal because the emergency rooms expose you to all this other stuff. It's expensive, everything else. So, but it's not just emergency care, right? It is your wellness. Health and wellness matter here. And what the kind of services that dentists and their teams can provide in terms of sleep apnea, in terms of periodontal disease, for addressing long-term chronic inflammation, are key to getting you healthy and well. So our message to patients as you are beginning to market is wellness, bringing them in, making sure that you can prevent as many of the burdens on your immune system as possible. And this is where PerioProtect really can come in, especially in this kind of an atmosphere when people are so concerned about aerosol transmissions, because this is a tray delivery. Right now, we want to partner with all of you out there who are opening up. Our hearts are with you. We know how hard this is. We know how hard it is for team members to try to come back. We know what you're shuffling, because we're shuffling too. And so we're offering special COVID recovery pricing. Canadians, I'm excited to tell you, I got at least one Canadian lab today to say they would honor our recovery pricing. So it's $20 off a tray. So at the PerioProtect lab, our fee would be $68.95 a tray. We're doing this through the end of July. We're calling it a special COVID recovery. We hope that this helps you either make more money or offer a discount to your patients, whatever you choose, so that you can recover in your practice, but also address these really serious and important wellness issues.
Okay, awesome. I was looking here while we're doing this, Alexa, had a couple quick questions. One was, Tanya, we had talked beforehand about addressing the, say, delayed patient care, patients who haven't been seen that need to be seen and are coming back in, and the shortages maybe of PPE and the uncertainty around infection. And you actually, I know last week, and have a webinar coming up, if I'm not mistaken, where you can show that you can reduce the risk of transmission, virus transmission, with a perio protocol.
That's right. So tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central, so 5 p.m. Eastern and on down for your time zones, Dwayne Keller, our Chief Scientific Officer, is going to be looking at the role that peroxide plays, both to reduce the risk of the oral transmission of this virus, and then also to address patient care. So there's two protocols with PerioProtect. Almost everybody uses the one in maintenance. If you are a PerioProtect provider, your standard protocol is to do whatever initial therapy there is and then put people in trays to get even better results and to maintain them. But the really innovative protocol is to use trays in the very beginning. Now, if your hygienists are reluctant to come back, if you're trying to do hand scaling instead of ultrasonics, or maybe you're using lasers too, adding tray therapy right now for anybody who's got gingival inflammation is a great way. But hydrogen peroxide is a known antimicrobial against coronaviruses. Let's be clear, there's no controlled clinical data about this particular SARS-CoV-2, but it's very similar to the earlier SARS viruses. And researchers across the board are recommending hydrogen peroxide at a 0.5% concentration. So this is a 1.7% concentration. EPA makes drug claims. I'm sorry, EPA does not make drug claims. EPA makes disinfectant claims. And they're saying that you need a 5-minute contact time for this. So what the tray will do is give you the longest contact time possible. So the gel that I'm most familiar with is what we have researched most. It's called PerioGel. It is 1.7% concentration of peroxide. You would put a lot of that in a tray. You want more than normal. it'll leak out. You want it to leak out. You want it to ooze out a bit. You'll taste it. It has a nice minty taste, but it will give you more contact time because the gel in the tray is activating over a 17-minute time point. So you have a way to give patients a treatment that can reduce their risk of oral transmission, not just in the dental practice, but every day. And then this is also a way, because they're doing it every day at home, just 10 to 15 minutes, it's a way to address that care. You're not going to be able to get everybody through your office. Maybe your hygienists aren't coming back yet. You don't need a hygienist to do this. It's great if they're there, but I'm watching forums, and there are a lot of people who are unable or unwilling to come back right now. And this is an issue that everybody's facing. So if you have a doctor or an assistant who can scan or take an impression, that's pretty much what you need. And we are seeing some offices come back already. So addressing delayed patient care, this is a great way to do it. It's always been a good way, but there's never been a more important time. You want a robust immune system during any time. You want the most robust immune system possible, but especially now, so that you can fight those infectious challenges more. You can fight those challenges more effectively, specifically your viral attacks.
You would think the patients who are coming back that have that fear, you know, a couple of things, or your staff,
right?
Just doing something. And I know you and I have spoken before on the effects of hydrogen peroxide. I assume, and you have a lot of data.
Yeah.
And I'm not a data guy, so I can tell you, Tanya, every time, you know, I just say, I need to print this and read it later. I assume you're going to share all that in your webinar.
Yeah, all of that and more will be Dwayne Keller. If you want science, he's the science guy. He's got more data than most people want. And I like data. So all of that will be available in the webinar. We also have a couple of short pieces that are recorded for your team members. And I will just take everybody who's registered for this event and send you a link to a place where you can find all of these materials. But we have a white paper on peroxide about how it works, why you might want to use tray therapy with it. For people who don't have trays, I know docs who are telling them to brush their teeth with this hydrogen peroxide gel and keep brushing for 3 or 4 minutes to make sure you're getting the maximum contact time. So there's a lot of materials we have that are supportive, both for your team and for your patients. We have a template for patients that you can consider either sending out in an e-blast or as a letter to them. We just give it to you in a Word file. You do whatever you want with it. We have videos and lots of things that help the office when you're ready, right? People, just look at all the questions that were sent in about Bob, right? As soon as you get yourself ready, we are here for you when you need it.
Right. Well, and we appreciate that. You know, that is one of the things that has really, from a clinical perspective, you've been very helpful for. In fact, you've been sort of leading up to this now that once we're ready to go back, and now we are. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Alexa.
Right, so we next up we have Dr. Brian Laskin with OperaDDS. Brian, take it away.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and thanks everybody for being on the call. I'm always impressed with this group and the people that show up and are engaged. It's amazing. And to the panelists here, I think as Bob and Tanya were speaking, I was thinking of you know, one of my favorite misquotes is Darwin, who everybody thinks it's survival of the fittest, which is a misnomer. It's really about he talks about the most adaptable being the ones that survive. And I think we're all in this constant flux right now, and providing tools that Bob and Tanya provide are fantastic. And what I want to go over is some of the tools that I think were nice to have pre-COVID and actually during the shutdowns, but as we emerge from this pandemic, are going to be mandatory. I mean, I think that there's some expectations by our patients and our teams, just like with PerioProtect and, you know, other things that people are going to be expecting coming out of this, is paperless workflow. And so as I'm talking to dentists that are getting ready to open, teledentistry has obviously been huge for a long time, and we've gone over that on this in this forum quite a bit, and it's been exploding, and I think it's continued to be here to stay. But as people are opening, I wanted to give some guidance to tools that you can use as you reopen your practice that will be will be very valuable. And so I'm going to share my screen here. So I talked a little bit last time on pre-screening forms. This is the first pre-screening form. Is kind of a fuzzy copy of the first one that the CDC came up with. And there's a new form that we have in everybody's OperaDDS, and with our partnership with Dr. Genius in your accounts, that you can text, email from directly within Dr. Genius or OperaDDS people, so it's easy for them to fill out. You know, as we bring on all these new tools, it's going to be vitally important that we select tools that are easy, not just for us to use in our team, but our patients. And so being able to text them the form, email, have it on your website, or send via your patient reminders is crucial. And so the COVID-19 screening form is a big piece of that. But any forms in general should directly write back into your practice management system, as this little animation shows. My preferred way is always to text patients their forms beforehand, because as you see on this animation, the patient's information is already stored in their phone, so they don't have to type out their address, which is a pain for everybody. We're all used to filling out forms online. In addition to that, now, prior to COVID-19, we may hand the patient an iPad, but now if you do that, somebody's gonna be wondering who touched this iPad, right? And so I loved when Gary said it on the last call, when Gary Cady said he likes touchless dentistry. That's kind of what this is. So if the patient's touching their own device, you don't have to manage it. You don't have to disinfect it, which is fantastic, right? So here's an example of forms that we have, including, you can see in red, COVID-19 screening form, and forms available in Spanish. But it's important to note that people aren't going to be coming into our practices. So oftentimes, if you have a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old who drove herself to the office, and mom's even sitting in the parking lot in a car waiting for the visit, in Minnesota, you need to have consent for every procedure every time. So being able to quickly text the parent consent form so you can actually do the procedure is huge. Again, making it easy and touchless and more, but more thorough. Elevated care quite a bit pre-COVID, post-COVID, it's going to be an expectation for people. And speaking of being adaptable, I just read the governor of Minnesota, where I am, just came out and said we can go back to work, thankfully. So my office is opening up May 15th. But he also had a couple other forms that they're recommending that you use. For example, a PPE educational release form for your team. So every day there's been a new form that's come out, and I think that's going to continue for a while. So having an easy to create forms with a quick form builder I think it's really key. And to that end, something we just came up with is a virtual check-in form that we have in people's accounts, and you can modify this. But when people are sitting in their car, what this allows you to do is the patient just checks a checkbox, and then in this case we have a signature pad and the birth date, so that you get notified right away when the patient is in your parking lot ready to come up, and then you can text or email or call them, or you can, all from within there. So that's a new form that we just added because it was demanded by offices that are calling up and saying, how do we do virtual check-ins? We added a checkbox to the COVID pre-screening form, but this is a great way to do it. So you can text it to the patient, you can send it to them right before their appointment. You can include the link in their patient reminder, and then when they get to their practice, they just check the checkbox so you know they're there. And then you don't know what device people are going to be looking at on, so make sure that all your forms can scale across everything from a phone to a tablet to a laptop to a desktop computer. And that's my information. So OperaDDS.com. If you have a question for me, just email me at brian@operadds.com. Thanks again for everybody.
Good. I have a question for you, Brian.
Yeah.
Can I ask you now, or do I have to email you?
No, go ahead.
Awesome. So
the attendees don't have the option to speak up, I don't think, but they can type it in.
All right.
Yeah.
So you and I have spoken before about this, and in fact, I said earlier, you're kind of like the guy selling flashlights on the corner in New York when the lights go out. You know, you've been doing this, that you didn't think this up, you know, a few weeks ago, like you've been doing this. And for anybody who is watching and doesn't know, Brian's a practicing dentist. So he isn't just talking about this, he does this. And we had a conversation about sort of the logistics and maybe a little higher level what we think. And one of the things that came up was checking in and checking out. You know, right now there's a pen, and we've evolved to where now there's 2 cups with pens. One says disinfected, one says dirty. So some genius came up with, all right, we'll take it out of here, put it over here. You know, that's only going to last so long. So in terms of like checking in or virtual checking in, you know, what's going on there? Anything you can share with that whole process?
Yeah, it's super easy to do. And that's kind of the form that we sent along. And you can have a virtual check-in form. And again, what's great is to send it to the patient's own device. So text or email it to them, because then it's touchless. And, you know, you think about it, like people are freaking out online when they have to sign a receipt at Target because they don't know, you know, who's touched that. And you know, it's not just our patients, it's our team members too, right? They have all the, there's so much change, making it automated and easy. We're all going to be slammed learning new things. So putting these tools to use that make our workflow easier in addition to touchless is absolutely key. You know, having even things from like, you know, taking people's temperature, your team's temperature, right? That people have a form in the back on a clipboard. It's not going to cut it. I think it's like I said at sort of the top of my presentation. Some of these tools that were nice to have 3 months ago are going to be viewed by your team, by your patients as beyond an expectation. They're going to be upset if you don't have them. So yeah, I appreciate that. And you know, I did develop all these solutions many years ago, so I am kind of the guy who's been selling light bulbs for a long time while the lights were on, and now the lights went off. But it's because I kind of saw in my own practice the issues that I was trying to solve too. So
yeah,
thank
and
you.
it goes beyond the virus at that point. You know, it just is, you know, we've talked before, it's just smart. It saves time, it saves money, it smooths the process. It's really hard to change. And one of my good friends, Linda Miles, is, if you know Linda's full of what we call Lindaisms. And one of Linda's things is she'll say, you know, the only people who like change are babies in wet diapers. So none of us like that. So now's a good time to change and I think 30 days in, you're going to have a lot of practice owners who say, man, I should have done this years ago. And,
oh yeah, we're getting that every day.
And
Yep.
it just takes this. So I saw, Alexa, there was a question you want to ask about COVID, a special maybe?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Wanted to make sure, is OperaDDS only available in the US or outside, and any promotions that you're offering, Brian? I know people want to take advantage of that if possible.
Yeah, if you go to operadds.com/nextlevel, we have a special offer there. We currently aren't available outside the United States because we're HIPAA compliant. We and most other foreign countries, really they require to have the data stored in the country of origin, and we haven't spun up servers, but we'll probably be going to Canada very soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So I know we've heard a little bit about marketing piece from Bob and also from multiple people on here today. So I want to introduce Mr. Andrew Lopez, Dr. Genius, co-founder. All yours, Andrew.
Oh, thank you, Alexa. And I feel like this is like the Breakfast Club, and my new favorite substitute teacher, Steve Parker.
Good.
But yeah, I think everybody just, you know, queued this up perfect for, you know, Dr. Genius, from, you know, Bob, Tanya, and Brian. You know, it's like, where do we bring all this information, you know, all this growth that needs to happen, all this new tech that needs to come into play? I just experienced a crazy show yesterday. My personal family doctor, dentist opened back up, took our 2 kids, and leading up to it, there must have been about 3 to 4 phone calls, very disorganized because it was one thing after another that was changing, as Brian was saying. It's just like everything, you know, it's like you're building a rocket as you're flying it. And so it was a learning curve. And even to getting there, sitting in the parking lot, you know, with 2 kids, because they both had back-to-back, and it took an hour and a half per child, you know. So it's, you know, they're not turning and burning, you know. It's not like you're getting through a bunch of patients a day. I would imagine maybe they're seeing 6 patients a day. And it really, you know, I'm like, wow, he really needs to utilize the solution. I like to keep my professional and my personal life separate, so I never pitch it until they actually come to me and ask me for it. But I just see that, wow, with what Bob was saying, you know, we need to look at, you know, new growth, because how are we going to come out of this? We need to start generating new revenue. And that's, you know, what our focus is at Dr. Genius. We're performance-based. We're no long-term contracts. We're about growing your business alongside with you. And I can go ahead and share my screen here real quick. Let me just go. And you guys can see my screen. That's good. Okay, and just want to give everyone, you know, just a 9,000-foot view of who we are. Dr. Genius provides digital marketing solutions by leveraging content. So that content right now, I feel, is PerioProtect. You need to educate your patients on, you know, what's going on in their mouth and, you know, the bacteria that's happening there, and complete health and strengthening our immune system, right? That's the content. And we help deploy that content. We write that content. We edit that content. We work alongside with you to produce the content if need be. Mobile first web design. I mean, I'm sure everyone on this call, I'll actually bet, you know, everything on that, everybody has a smartphone in their hand right now, or within arm's reach. And what makes your website come up for those searches when someone's looking for an emergency dentist, or a dentist that understands coronavirus, or is open, you know, after the coronavirus, or whatever the search term may be right now, because it has changed from what it was 3 months ago. From emergency dentist near me to find a dentist near me. No, it's not that anymore. It's a dentist that, you know, educated on coronavirus or COVID friendly. This is what you're really seeing out there in search terms. So knowing that, and so SEO stands for search engine optimization. So optimizing for those search terms, and that's what we help out with. We have proprietary data, structured data that we implement onto the websites that we generate. So we're not a website company or a marketing agency. We're a solution that utilizes our templated framework. We customize to your logo and to your color scheme. I like to give the example of, you're getting a Porsche, but you only get black or white. You know what it's going to do. You know it's going to perform. You know how fast it's going to go. You know it's going to, you know, come in first place in the race. And that's who we are. We're about growing your practice. We're not about getting all these flash and all these widgets and plugins on your site. That's going to slow it down. And that's not going to help with your search engine optimization when someone goes to Google and does a search, right? So that's our focus. So I would urge you to really take Tanya up on getting that content and, you know, really educating yourself around PerioProtect. And what you can do with that, you're going to start generating more inquiries for your practice by having that content on your site. And then what's going to happen is you'll be able to track it through Dr. Genius reporting. If you are a client or you plan on going with us, this is just a real quick screenshot of our portal. And you can see, you can track all the calls, total web forms coming in. So you really get a return on investment. You can see what's going on. You actually can go in and listen to the calls that your front desk is taking. So you can see, you know, listen, especially right now, I think that is a key, is to listen to see what your patients are seeing or asking and what they're saying. So then you can start preparing. So, you know, really is strategizing and figuring out a solution to where you get that email out there, that text message out there that has the bullet points of your paperless form COVID intake form, right? You have a link to virtual check-in. Have all that in a nice package wrapped up so they don't have the experience that I had yesterday, sitting in a hot parking lot for 3.5 hours, walked over to Del Taco, got something and just sat there. It's just, we're beating down sweat. We're in Southern California. She came in to take the kids' temperature. I'm like, are you kidding me? They're sitting in a hot car right now. Are you? It's like, and she's like, oh, I understand. This is what I'm like, okay, and they're all in spacesuits, and then in between each kid, they have to go change out their spacesuit and clean everything down. So like they're sitting there waiting. But it's almost like I want to give you guys the example of NASCAR or Formula One. When those cars pull into the pit, how fast they're going through everything, right? Yeah. It's really, you need to start strategizing that solution right now. And, like getting with your crew, and you need to have buy-in from everyone there. When I say buy-in, they need to understand that, yeah, there is concerns. We understand the concern, of the virus, but like they are there 100% and 100% giving 100% of themselves. What we experienced yesterday, the hygienist was maybe 40 to maybe 50% buy-in. We asked her how she was comfortable. She's like, oh, I'm like, whoa, that was, and for me, I want to ask these questions because, it's relevant for me. So I think that's very important. So when you're thinking about bringing, your staff back, to really interview them and see where they're at in their life and, how they take to what's going on. Because you want individuals that are going to give your 100%, because it's like that pit stop. It's a race. You need to get in and out, you're trying to get that business back up. And with Dr. Genius, you can implement us. We're up in 60 days and we're generating new patient inquiries and generating revenue for you. Which, and then we grow with you. You can start, we have packages that start at $5.99 and go all the way up to the moon. But it's only if it's a fit. We're going to grow. We're not going to go and just take your money and run. As you can see with the reviews here, it really is a transparent solution that grows with your practice. And if we see that a time like right now, the pandemic, we have clients that were on our higher tier packages and we scaled them all the way back down because the volume is not there. If the volume's not there, why pay for it? Right? And that's who we are. It's all about performance. We're not just out there to run. We're not running PPC ads, and we're not doing any black hat SEO. This is all organic that sticks. It's really, and it makes your practice more valuable. If you're ever thinking about selling your practice, and Bob can, testify to that, you really need to have this landscape, because it's going to send your evaluation for your practice, through the roof. And you'll be more surprised than not, like how much, a DSO or another practice owner would pay, because they see that you have a great reputation out there. You have your brand out there. Everything's nice and cohesive, and you have a protocol, especially for situations like right now. So I really urge you to start looking at what is your patient going through and optimizing that, and how can you educate them? Is it through, adding more content on the site, a blog post, sending them out a message to actually go to the site and see what's going on and see what is our phase approach about bringing our patients back, right? All these governors have their phases on bringing patients back. Okay, let's create our own phases. Let's go look at, our emergency patients first. Stuff that we had to set up for surgery. My son, he was dealing with an abscess this whole time. We were just cleaning, flossing, just making sure that it didn't blow up. And thank God my wife, she actually, got it to look way better. When we went back yesterday, he was like, wow, you guys did a really good job. It didn't get out of control. It actually started healing. And that's, from us learning, myself learning from Tanya over the last few months, and like what we can do, right? And about, our oral healthcare. It all starts with our mouth, guys. I think everybody's starting to realize that. It's, we need to get that message out there. Let's get our immune system up to par. fight this thing, it will fight it. You know, and of course there's going to be those individuals that have pre-existing and, you know, and their immune systems aren't as strong, and we need to do what we can to protect them as well, but let them know what we are doing to protect them so they can come see the dentist. That's all I got for you. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone.
Appreciate it. I had an observation and a question, and Alexa might appreciate this, but when you were talking about the pit stop, Alexa, do you remember Gary's pit stop, the little video he used to use? So he would, back when, you know, Gary speaks a lot, and he had this systems talk that he did, and he talks about this video. So it's a pit stop in like the 1960s. And, you know, it's the narrator is talking about how fast it is and how efficient the team is. And, you know, they come in and the car stops and the guy gets out and gets a sandwich and he goes over and gets a drink, and the clock is going, and it might be 4 or 5 minutes, and they can say, holy cow, look at that, you know, 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And then right after that is a pit stop, a Formula One pit stop today. And if you've never seen this, just go YouTube it. It's like 1.3 seconds or something. The car stops, it's jacked up, wheels have changed, there's gas, and it leaves in just like seconds. And I think where we are today is we're still struggling with getting through this and the challenges, and we don't know. And so what we ask of our patients is that they understand, well, a lot of this we're figuring out, we're safe, but we're figuring it out as we go. And what struck me, Andrew, was our website is one of the ways to communicate that. And you made a great comment about content. So if I'm gonna make a short-term solution to a short-term situation, my website today, the coronavirus situation today, trying to figure out about how I'm going to see patients today, I don't need to create a permanent website that's going to last me for 5 years. If I sort of get going, I can, you know, help get my patients comfortable coming back now with kind of that short-term content. Is that right? I mean, is that
absolutely
how you'd see it work?
Absolutely, because and especially with you know, how we deploy content at Dr. Genius, when we write a blog for the website, we're deploying it out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. So we're getting it out there on all those social channels to educate those patients, right? And that's what, I mean, you can even include it in those articles, like you can start talking about the PerioProtect and, you know, what, you know, you could start doing about, you know, your oral care, but in that same stuff, in that same content, you're talking about the coronavirus, COVID, and what you're doing within the practice, right, to take the precautions. And here's the paperless forms. Here's your link for your virtual check-in. Here's your, you know, here's the link, all within one article. That would be amazing. Now your patients are like, wow, they got their stuff together. They know, you know, and it's not like mom's taking 3 phone calls and making PBJs on the side and trying to like schedule, you know, and like, wow, okay, I'm trying to homeschool kids now. I'm trying to, you know, get them off to the dentist. You know, it's like, and moms and parents right now, they have their hands full. It's, you know, and it's like from finances to the kids at home to, you know, trying to like, okay, look around the corner to see what's coming up next, you know? So I think making it as easy as you can for your patients is crucial. And via that content on the site, content is king. It's always gonna, you know, play out. So when you're providing that content, Google sees you as an authority. So
that's where they're looking, right? I mean,
yeah. So it's going to help with your ranking all the way around. It's going to help with you generating new patients. Just educating your patients is going to generate new patients. Wow, what a concept, right?
And now's the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right. You see anybody? What do you see there, Alexa?
We've answered the majority, Steve. I'm looking through here. Bob is always our leader with questions, so we probably could be here all day. So trying to see here if anything we can ask.
I'm working on it.
Are you, Bob? Okay. I know that's cool.
I can see him. And for anybody watching, what you don't see is on the back end, we have a chat and then we have a Q&A, and a little ticker pops up. And anytime somebody says, you have a question for Bob, that little ticker just starts to spin and they have lots of questions. And you do answer them all, right, Bob?
You're on mute, Bob.
Sorry, yes, I definitely try to answer as fast as I can. If not, I am finding that people are also reaching out to me directly. So that's fine as well. If they would like to call me, I'll be more than happy to walk them through.
Awesome. Well, I've got, we've got a few more minutes, and I know Gary likes to stay on time. So I was going to say, let's have a pop quiz, and stick with the whole substitute teacher thing, but everybody hates that. So, I wanted to just share what I talked to a lot of dentists, a lot of practice owners, and we've covered most of everything today that I cover and have covered in the last week. I think what I feel the vibe, so to speak, is we all now know we're coming back. We've wanted to come back. Maybe we got intense about coming back, and then, oh my gosh, we're coming back. And as Andrew pointed out, there is a lot of chaos to just seeing patients. And what I would say is that's okay. That's part of it. Again, this is a very short-term situation. I'm always struck by, you turn on CNN or you turn on Fox News and they have the experts on there. And I always, in fact, I was going to email them and say, how do you get to be an expert? Have you been through more worldwide pandemics than other people? Or, have you been through more worldwide economic shutdowns than, others? There are no experts. So I think it's okay as a dentist / practice owner to just do your best, look for CDC guidance, look for ADA guidance, look for your state's guidance. And that's probably the best you can do right now. If you, whatever you might think is extra, that's sort of your opinion. Go ahead and do it if you can. But I wouldn't let it stop you from reopening and getting this economic machine going. And, that would probably be my message. Just take those steps. Know that you're doing the best you can. Communicate with your team and your patients. And you'll see this thing start to slowly roll ahead. And a week from now, we'll have different answers. And 2 weeks, different answers. And 3 weeks, we'll have a lot of really good answers. And a year from now, we'll all look back and say, oh my gosh, I should have done like Brian. I invested in, I'm not even going to tell you some of the silly stuff. While Brian's over there doing teledentistry and paperless forms, and I should have listened to him sooner. So don't be hung up on being right, hung up on making progress. So that'll probably be my message as we wrap this up and have a couple extra minutes and let Alexa kind of take us out.
You're on mute.
Nope.
Hey, Alexa, could I ask you to tell people about the Blueprint Recovery Program you guys are offering? Because
good idea.
This is something that we've had a lot of questions about for Periprotect providers, and I want to make sure they get the information from you.
Yes. And you're on mute, Alexa. You looked really good.
Thank you for that. I don't do that often, but hey. So, and I know it's typically covered when Gary's here. So thank you for that, Tanya. I know that all of us are starting from different, points right now. Mm-hmm. And what we do uniquely with Next Level Practice is, we're the leaders in the dental practice management space. And right now what we have something called the Recovery Blueprint. So this is for doctors that are still in a lot of uncertainty or even a little bit of uncertainty through this and needing that extra support and hand-holding to navigate. So what Gary does is we have 3 sessions with him. It gives you a custom plan for it gives you a 90-day plan, 3 30-day plans in between that, and how to monitor daily and hourly with the ever-changing information that happens. So, we really want to cover with that safety and how to reopen, solvency, restarting, and surging once reopened. So I will provide a link here, but again, we have a lot of different things that we're helping right now in this time, no matter where you're starting from. So I will put my information here, and I want to thank all of you again for spending your hour here today with us. Be well and safe, and have a great rest of your week. We'll see you all next Tuesday.
See you, gang.
Bye.